Right now on Toronto's breaking news, CP24, mayoral candidates squaring off in a debate centering on issues of concern in Toronto's black community. Also ahead, the anxious moments at Pearson Airport after a mishap involving one of the vintage planes scheduled to perform at the air show this weekend. And solving Toronto's raccoon problem. Details on a poll that finds many residents support the idea of euthanizing the pesky prowlers. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Several mayoral candidates took part in a debate tonight hosted by the Diversity Advancement Network. The event addressed a number of issues, including housing and education. Mayor Rob Ford drew some criticism from the other candidates when he touted his support for youth through football.
Don Bosco was not funded from the Rob Football Foundation. It was through myself, and I deal with these black youth day in and day out. And nobody supports the black youth more than I do in this city. Thank you very much.
Under your failed leadership, the recreation fees have gone up, so fewer children can actually use their community center. Under your failed leadership in the last 4 years, it costs a lot more to rent space so that you can have a basketball or a soccer game.
It is about a lot more than football, with the greatest of respect, sir. And what we did not hear was we did not hear your voice on these issues beyond what you said about football. The only time we actually heard your voice was when you stood up and actually voted against a lot of the programs that were going to make a difference beyond football. That's where your leadership failed.
The truth remains that there is no way that this administration has done the things that they could have done for our community. We are not going to accept pass-bys. We are not going to accept barbecues. We are not going to accept football programs. We want education. We want repairs. We want jobs. We have real needs.
The comments from Mr. Ford is actually broader than the black community because my problem is the disservice it's to the Toronto community and it's all of us as residents. You know, it's the question of there wasn't that $1 billion savings. The subway is not being built. We did have a strike of those library workers. You know, that tax savings came on the back of the reserves, and so on and so on, and so it gives.
And let's take you there live now to the North York Hotel where this took place. Travis Danrad's joining us. And Travis, we saw a couple of candidates that a lot of people had never even heard of tonight.
Well, that's right, Kyle. Two candidates included that aren't normally seen in these debates. And of course, the main candidates as well, including Mayor Ford, John Tory, David Soknacki, Olivia Chow. Quite a lengthy debate tonight, nearly 2 hours long. And I'm joined now by some of the folks that were in the audience. Guys, names quickly.
Nina.
Richmond.
Michelle.
Okay. So first off, what did you think of the debate? And I'll ask you this first. If the election was held today based on this debate, who would you vote for?
To be perfectly honest, I didn't quite have one candidate that I would skew my vote towards. But overall, in terms of the debate itself, I just found the subjects not as broad as I would have hoped in terms of actually covering all things that actually affect Black Canadians, Black people in Toronto, the arts sector. I actually am representing Aim to Impact. It's a arts-based advocacy group that wants to encourage more African culture injection into the arts. And I would have hoped that the conversation would have skewed towards those sort of topics as well.
Okay, guys, we only have about 30 seconds left or so. Were you pleased with the debate tonight and some of the issues covered?
Yes, it was very, very fantastic and a great platform for the Black Canadian community to engage in this discussion. And definitely, I was actually more impressed with it. Also given a platform to some of the councillors and the trustees, mainly speaking, Michelle Manat from the Jane and Finch. She addressed some very fantastic issues as well.
And yourself?
I'm Michelle Smith. I'm here representing the health community. I was a little bit disappointed that they did not bring up some of the health issues that we're facing in some of the marginalized communities.
Okay, guys, appreciate it. So this debate down, we've got about 40 or so more to go, believe it or not, before October 27th. That is, of course, Election Day. We'll send it back to you for now, Cal.
All right, Travis Stanraj reporting live. Thank you. We head outside now. Meteorologist Chris Potter joining us with a check on the forecast. What do we need to know about overnight, Chris?
Well, conditions are still going to be quiet. We had high pressure in place the past 2 days. We had lots of sun both Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, but the temperatures weren't quite high enough for a lot of folks. We were basically at or below normal, and temperatures tonight are set to stabilize near 17. You can thank the light southerly winds and a bit of cloud spilling through, but despite the cloud cover, I'm expecting dry conditions. The cloud itself will actually thin out nicely during the early morning, leaving us with a couple of hours of sun with a few clouds. We're set to be dry through the afternoon. Temperatures peaking near 30. It's probably going to feel more like 38, so like I said, a big warm up, but then increasing clouds during the early evening will lead to a few showers for the late evening and into the overnight, where areas to our north and west will get into the risk of rain and thunderstorms during the afternoon. Kyle will have the rest of your work week forecast, which is reduced for some, coming up.
All right, Chris, thank you. Also making news, it's the last blast of summer for some, and it's going to be a busy long weekend, both inside and outside the city. The OPP will be keeping a close eye on the roads, but you may not recognize them. Provincial police were showing off some new unmarked vehicles earlier today. There are 10 of these that officers will be using as they look to crack down on distracted drivers. Distracted driving is blamed for 88 deaths on OPP-enforced roads last year and 35 so far this year. Officers say they've seen drivers distracted by reading, texting, and even personal grooming.
We are urging all motorists who engage in distraction to come to terms with the reality that there is no such thing as safe distracted driving, and that all distracted drivers pose a threat on our roads.
You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24. Stay with us after the break. Police have released some surveillance video of people they say may have information in the death of an Orangeville nurse. That story when we come back. Police have released a new video in connection with the murder 4 years ago of an Orangeville nurse. 42-year-old Sonia Varashin was reported missing in August of 2010. Her body was found a few days later in a wooded area of Caledon. The video from the OPP shows two people who could be witnesses in the unsolved murder. Surveillance video of the two in a gazebo in Alexandra Park in Orangeville was taken in the early morning hours of August 30th, 2010. That's the same day 42-year-old Varashin was murdered in her townhouse. Investigators want to identify these two people and speak to them. Alexandra Park is behind the Orangeville Town Hall, which is close to where Varashin's vehicle was found.
Police for the last 4 years have been looking at all the information that has come forward. Part of our investigative process has led us back to businesses in the Orangeville area where video has been located and seized, and all that video has been very, very closely analyzed. This is one of the last pieces of video that we have that we're trying to hopefully make a determination as to who these individuals are, because they could very well hold a very important piece of information.
It's tragic that they haven't found the person, that has done this. I figured by now they would have gotten something. So like I hear it on the news when I watch the news, but I don't I just heard about it on the news and I knew her car was found here.
I think it's crazy that it took 4 years for them to come up with this video. You know, why did it take so long for them to get it? They've got cameras all over the place. You think they would have had that within the first couple months.
I can only hope that possibly somebody does see this new video and realizes, oh, yeah, I think I vaguely remember something. Because any tip at all possibly could get them on the right lead.